Hello. I'll just hang on and see if anybody joins on while I'm live, although you might be watching the recording of this, to see if anybody is about. Hi, Ellen. We might have a few people. I did remember this week to mention it in my stories that I was going to be live at about 9. We've got quite a few people, so I'll maybe just get started. So if you are new to these Thursday morning lives, morning, post lockdown, I used to host a knit night on a Wednesday night, and I would always bake for the knit night. So on a Thursday morning, after I dropped my kids off at school, I would come back to the house and I'd have a bit of leftover cake for my breakfast. So these live videos are just me sitting down with a bit of leftover cake and talking about my knitting, what I've been working on this week. And so I've got my cup of coffee in one of my favourite mugs. I'm not sure if that comes out backwards for you. It says, "A custard a day keeps the doctor away," which seems quite suitable because last week I made custard cream. So, morning, Hannah. Hi, Crafty Jim. And because my kids went back to school yesterday, they're not at school today because only half the school went yesterday and half are today. So my two are off today. But I decided I would make them one of their favourites, which is a porridgey, as we call it. But you might know it as a flapjack. Just really simple. We call it a porridgey because I don't know if you know the Katie Morag kids books. They also made them into a TV programme. And there's a really good story there called the Baking Day, where everybody on the island does their baking all on the same morning. And Katie Morag and her brother go round to visit everybody. And because it's baking day, they get given a bit of cake from each person, each house they visit. And one of the things that is made is a porridgey, and actually in the book you get the recipe. So my kids really like these porridges, and they're really easy as well. If you're in a rush but you want to make something, that's a good one to pick. But people who come to my knit night know that I quite often make things even if I don't have quite the right ingredients. I quite often substitute things. So I didn't have any golden syrup, so I used honey, and I just kind of boiled up the mixture. You melt the butter and the sugar and the syrup, it's supposed to be. So I just boiled it for a wee bit longer to try and make it a little bit more syrupy. Oh, Hannah, you've read some of the Katie Morag books. Oh yeah, the one with the show and they have to wash the sheep, yeah. And oh yeah, if you want to find the recipe, just do a search for porridges. So just like the word porridge with IES on the end, and it'll come up. There's a woman called the Porridge Lady, who I haven't really looked at more of her website, but I'm guessing it's all about oats and porridge. But that's where I get the recipe for this from, because I quite often can't find the book. So, but they're just really easy, and you can add other stuff. You could put raisins in them or sunflower seeds, or you could put chocolate on the top. I've done that before. Yeah, it's a really good one. So, I don't know if anybody saw my post on my Instagram grid yesterday, but I've been thinking about creativity and knitting, and how people who are knitters that I meet when I'm running workshops and things, they quite often don't see themselves as being creative. And I've been watching some TED Talks on YouTube, and I found this really good one by this guy who is a caricature artist. He's called Daniel Cape, and he had this brilliant quote in his talk, which was, "Everyone is creative, but not everyone knows it." And I really thought that was so poignant. You meet lots of knitters who don't think that they're doing anything creative Whereas actually I think just the act of picking a pattern, choosing some yarn, and that is creative in itself. And that's even before they've started doing any knitting. So I put a post up on my grid yesterday with that quote, and invited people to comment if they had any thoughts about creativity or how they feel about their knitting and creativity. So if you have any thoughts on that, I'd really love to know, because I find it very interesting, and I think it's really closely connected with people's confidence as knitters. I do teach a lot of beginner knitters, adults and kids, and not a lot, but sometimes I meet an adult knitter who's had a really bad experience learning to knit as a child, where they were told that they weren't any good at it, or they had their knitting ripped out by a teacher, and it's really knocked their confidence. And then they come to it again as an adult, and they're very, I wouldn't say worried about it, but they're just unsure, and they're worried about making a mistake. That's a big thing. And so it's just very interesting to me that I think thinking of yourself as being creative and your confidence in your skills as a knitter are quite closely connected. Let's see. Crafty Gem is agreeing. Creativity and crafting is as much about the journey as the end result. Yeah, so when I teach kids to knit, I just leave a lot of the holes and the bumpy bits on the side and all that stuff. I only ever correct it. I try to fix stuff if it's really like it's falling apart, basically, because they can always make something, no matter how many holes or bumpy bits it's got. It doesn't really matter. Hannah, yes, easy to feel that creative has to mean inventive and original, which I don't feel I am. Yeah, interpreting other people. Yes, I know what you mean. So, like, you're not, unless you're the person who's made the thing originally. Knitting is a craft, isn't just making and not creating. Yes, I think that's a big thing, isn't it? I came across another TED talk where somebody talked about that, and I'll see if I can find it, and I might link to it on my grid. It was a woman talking about how craft is not seen as, I don't know, high status maybe is the phrase, as art, and that it's to do with the making of it and how it's very involved with your hands, and probably there's a bit of a gender thing there too. Yeah, it's a complicated topic, but it's very interesting, especially when you talk to a lot of knitters about how they feel about themselves as a creative person. And so I have, yesterday I put a blog post up on my website, which was, I'm going to do a series about how to use up little bits and bobs of yarn, which is a good way to help make yourself feel creative about your knitting, if you can find patterns that use up little bits of leftovers. So the first post there is about working out how much you've got, because I've just pulled this out of my stash. It's it's about half a ball of Jameson Smith 2-ply jumper weight. And you really need to know how much you've got of things before you can work out what you can make with them. So I've got my trusty jewellery weighing scales, which are very good for weighing little bits of yarn, because they're very accurate and you can get them fairly reasonably. So you can weigh your yarn, and in my blog post I'll explain a little bit of the maths. It's not very difficult. So that's the first post in a wee series about how to sort of use up leftovers and get a bit creative with colours. So you might want to go over and have a wee look at that. The link is in my profile. And then I was going to show you, I'm just trying to keep a wee eye on the time, because if I make this too long I won't be able to use my subtitling website because I can't go over 20 minutes. So I have, if you got my newsletter this morning, you might have read that I am going to be releasing the Coraline sweater pattern. So I've been working on a second sample because it's that way around actually. The one for the magazine that was out last spring was a size it was too small for me. Here it is in knit now. Not sure how well you can see that. So I needed to make another one. So it's knitted in Rowan Moordale yarn. Oh, the light is catching that. And they very kindly gave me yarn support to knit myself another sample in a bigger size. So I'm gonna make I've just basically taken off the sleeves, so I've got the body to do, but I'm gonna make a sort of a more cropped version, and also one with a bit of a dipped hem at the back, which I'm really into at the moment. So I'm aiming for that one to come out about the end of September. So look out for that. And if what I always do with new patterns is I give mailing list subscribers a discount. So if you are interested in that, you could sign up to the mailing list, and the link is in my profile, or if you're on Facebook, it's in my pinned post at the top of the page. And then I also had an exciting delivery of some yarn from Needle and Thread. This is her double knit Blueface Leicester, which I really love. It's saturated like a merino, but it doesn't pill as much. So this one is called Marmalade. So it's lovely orange and sort of burnt red colours. So I have one of these, and then this one is called Rose Mould, and it's this beautiful, still kind of orangey, so orangey pink with little bits of browny orange, and a bit like roses when all the petals are falling off and they go a bit brown around the edges. It's really unusual. So I have 4 of these and 1 of these, and like Coraline, I have a lot of requests to make an my Amma sweater pattern into a cardigan. So that's what I'm going to do with these. So this is going to be for the string of pearls, and this will be for the body. And I think it's going to have the cuffs and the button bands and everything in this, rather than being the colour block effect that the Amma sweater has got. But that's my two colours. So I'm going to probably... they've been sitting here on my desk just sort of like begging me to wind them up and have a little swatch with them, so I don't think I'll be able to resist for very much longer. But that, yeah, Needle and Thread. Yeah, really autumnal. Yeah, I was really craving a very, very deep orange, but I wasn't sure about having a whole cardigan in the orange. I think that I will get more wear out of something that's a bit more like this, a little bit more subdued. So that's in the works, but you know, as usual, I have a whole great big stack of stuff to be swatching and doing, so this might have to hang on. But it's always nice to get some yarn in the post, isn't it? Yeah, so I'm going to leave you there to get on with the rest of your Thursday. Thank you for joining me, and I'll be here next Thursday. It'll probably be more like 10 o'clock, because next Thursday my kids will be at school, and so I'll be dropping them off, and then I'll be popping on here. Okay, thanks, bye.